Breaking news. This is the Greendale 3. It's the 6 p.m. news. The Greendale 3 bring you all the latest in community happenings.
Do you know
that's
where
right.
children are?
This is the evening news. I am Dan Rather. I'm Tom Brokaw.
Sounded like Patrick Warburton.
They sound very similar.
Yeah.
Not to dodge what we were talking about, but there's this incredible sketch from the Dana Carvey show where he's playing Tom Brokaw recording news for when he takes a vacation. And he's like, Gerald Ford dead today at age 83. All right, let's try a new one. Gerald Ford dead today, and I'm gay. You know, it's like all the options for what could happen while he's on vacation. But anyway, this is the Greendale 3 special report because there has been a lot of community news this week. One particular hot button item centered around the season 2 episode Advanced Dungeons and Dragons. The episode was first pulled from Netflix and then a few days later pulled from Hulu. The statement citing the section early on in the episode where Ben Chang is covered completely in black makeup as a quote-unquote dark elf. And this is the reason that it has been pulled from most major streaming platforms. This follows a trend that was happening last week, where 30 Rock was first, where Tina Fey and co. come out and say, we are having 4 some odd episodes featuring Blackface pulled from major streaming platforms.
Pause real quick. 4+ episodes of 30 Rock with Blackface? That many?
If I remember correctly, yeah, it was 4 some odd episodes. One of them is the big Oprah episode.
Yeah.
If I remember correctly, it was that. No news yet on Unbreakable Kimmy Schmidt. Scrubs then, like, the next day, did the same thing and pulled a few episodes that featured Blackface down from...
How many shows do this?
So many.
A shameful amount. A shameful amount. But this was then followed by the Community episode being pulled. And this one... we will obviously discuss, gets into some slightly murkier territory with what is Blackface, capital B Blackface.
Yes.
And then after Community, an episode of Golden Girls was pulled because the characters were wearing mud masks, like facial masks, that vaguely resemble Blackface. So that catches everyone up to where we are right now. Again, it is not actual Blackface.
No.
It is characters wearing facial masks at a spa.
Can I be completely honest?
That is the news. Yes.
As the black man in the podcast, so Community felt wrong to me, and then Golden Girls, I realized. I think to me, I had a realization of what I feel like is happening, and Trevor Noah worded it best in one of his between the scenes videos, where he talks about. I think I shared it with you guys, like. When your friends are so woke, they accidentally counteract their wokeness, where he talks about walking down the street with his friends who are all white in New York, and someone across the street, like down a little bit, just yells, "Hey, get back here, you monkey!" And like his friend turns to him and goes, "I'm so sorry." And he's like, "Wait, what? Why do you think he's talking to me?" And his friend's like, "Well, he wasn't talking to any of us." And he's like, "What? No, shut up, no." And like, just being so careful that like you accidentally assume something is racist when it's actually not, and how that makes you look. And like the knee jerk, let's pull this Golden Girls episode is like, yo, can I be the first to say, we aren't asking for this. I want the police to stop killing the black community, and I want the police to stop killing everyone that they kill, honestly, if I can be completely honest. But obviously that impacts, minority communities more. But like, yo, I don't want cool. Aunt Jemima's changing their cool. Kevin, you said it was a trend earlier. And like, it feels like it's the trendy thing to do. Not like, we feel bad about what we did, we should get rid of this. Instead, it's like, whew, no one had to ask me about this. Now I get to come out in front and look like the good guy and remove a bunch of stuff. And
yeah,
I know none of this is actually
wokeness as fashion, wokeness as like...
Reminded a few years back, they had a very similar incident. I forget what it was. It was another moment of mainstream attention on Black Lives Matter and just racial stereotypes. And we were confronted with the Simpsons versus Looney Tunes situation. Do y'all remember this? Where basically Looney Tunes put in front of all of their cartoons that had, implied minstrelsy or blackface and things of that nature. They put a bumper before each of the episodes and said, like, these episodes include racial stereotypes. These are not acceptable. And this is like the warning, so you're aware of that. And then you had the Simpsons when they were confronted with Apu, and they were like, well, nothing's wrong, we're just going to keep it. Which, by the way, now I believe they're finally changing all these actors. But it's, again, like you said, Caleb, people are asking for, like, defunding the police, not, getting rid of a few episodes of TV. Yeah. It just feels like, why are you, people are constantly obsessed with, like, it's so weird because there's also, like, those arguments with, oh, don't tear down statues, right? But it's like, people are like, don't tear them down, it's still history. And it's like, there's one thing about a statue is explicitly celebrating, an episode is using. And there's something about being able to say, hi, this content exists, and if you get rid of the content, it almost does a disservice to show the extent that it was pervasive within our culture. And it's kind of weird. Also, on a personal note, not to detract away from what's being discussed, but like, as a trans person, it's really frustrating to see them fully get rid of an episode because of one bit that's like, may or may not be. I personally see where the line is, sort of like the specific paint that they used was very much that paint. You know what I'm talking about. But like,
yeah,
indeed.
But like, when it comes down to, like, they have the last episode of season 1. They throw the T slur around. That's a slur, right? They don't bleep it out. They don't fuzz it out. They didn't do anything. They kept it. It's very clear they kept it because there's a very active amount of moving the plot forward. But like, the fact that they felt like it's a bit frustrating that the accountability is only going very clearly in that sense. They're not actively reflecting on what they're doing and whether or not it's harmful. They're trying to appease some kind of virtue signal. And I hesitate to use the term virtue signal because it's been co-opted by fucking fascists, but like neoliberals virtue signal, like.
But you're right.
Yeah, I know I'm right.
Yeah, it's the correct usage of the term virtue signal. Yeah. It's been co-opted to mean expressing any kind of empathy, right. But like this is the correct definition of that
it's
term.
Really just accountability. It's like, like
yeah,
right.
Yeah. So like, there's. I've been thinking about this since we brought it up, and I had it, and now it's gone. Where the fuck? I love Twitter sometimes, where you're like, yeah, the thing you want to be. Okay, it's right here. Defund the cops. Juneteenth is an official holiday. Okay, but the cops? We changed the syrup bottle. The cops. We're taking down old sitcom episodes. The cops? Recasting black cartoon characters. And the cops? Haven't we done enough? You sound a bit ungrateful.
So
yes, exactly.
It's this weird, like, socio-cultural phenomenon of somehow gaslighting you without having to do the work. Like, the fact, this is the other thing that got me, right? As a leftist, watching fucking elected officials, Democrats, put on the fucking,
yeah, sure. No, I know what you mean.
The traditional fabrics, right, with the Lincoln Memorial, embroidered on them, taking a moment of silence, joining the protests, if we take a moment, let's just reflect on that real quick. They're protesting themselves.
Yeah, they are. They are.
Like seriously, like they're taking a moment of silence to try and enact change. They are the people that bring change.
Y'all are the agents of change.
Yeah, you're protesting yourself. If you really wanted to do something, do it. Don't just like get silent and reappropriate people's fucking fabrics. It's a joke. It's a joke.
Yeah, they're firefighters standing outside of a burning house going like, oh, if only someone could do something about this.
We should call the cops.
Oh, man, like, the cops need to come here and shoot this fire.
Yeah, right.
But,
we have water guns
it's the
for
whole...
them.
Right. Thank you.
I would love to see cops armed with squirt guns.
Who puts pepper in water? Just give them pepper water.
They do. That would be what they did. Be like, oh, squirt. Oh,
that is what you would do.
Yeah.
Absolutely.
So to address,
they already do that.
Yeah, they already do that. Yeah, and they don't even have to make it. They don't even have to hide it. They're just like, hey, look, this is gonna hurt. So to address the specifics of advanced D&D being taken down, and as Jay said, like I do feel I can understand where some people would be like, ugh. On the other hand, the reaction to this episode being pulled seems pretty unilaterally like, yo, this is bullshit. But here's my argument, and it has not needed any time to crystallize from what it was initially when we were talking about this. My first reaction was, what? to Kevin sharing that. I was like, what? Like, why? And then we had a short discussion about it, but my summation of my feelings was like, Blackface is painting your skin black so that you can then act in the caricature of a stereotypical black person. And like, that's not at all what happens in this episode. It is, in fact, as Jace also said, like black makeup that like brings back those memories of like Tar Baby.
It's
and like
grease paint.
Yeah.
The grease paint.
Yeah. And like, sure, it's reminiscent because that's what was used. And Shirley does point it out. Immediately, right away. And then Chang says, I'm a drow, I'm a dark elf. Like, so the second half of my response to this when we were talking was, if this is blackface, then every white guy in makeup in Lord of the Rings as an Uruk-hai who all had black skin should all also be in trouble for wearing blackface because they're making their skin darker with makeup, which doesn't work for me. Like, it doesn't work for me. Like, Chang was playing a dark elf. None of his mannerisms, nothing that he did after it was even brought up, even before it was brought up, none of those mannerisms were at all indicative or replicative or a mockery of a black stereotype. He just talks like himself.
It's not even my place to say this, but I feel like he leans into his Changness even harder. He's
more Chang when he stands up and goes, "I am like tops." Like, yeah, like that. That's Chang. That's Chang.
100%.
So yeah, like I understand that there may be some knee jerk, but like, think about what your knees are jerking at. Is it, ooh, I don't know if this is okay, or is it, ooh, this is wrong? Because those are two separate thoughts, and they're pretty clear in a brain. When you go, I don't know, what your job should be then is to ask and to see if you think, or if people in the community that you think is being offended are truly offended. Because if not, you'll run into being so woke that you might actually offend the people you're being woke about. And I'm not saying I took any offense by Netflix pulling this down. I think Netflix was like, oh, we could earn some brownie points, and did a thing. And the rest of the community is like, yo, but that's not it.
We could have hours of conversation about Western style fantasy and its own coded language with
orcs,
dark elves and orcs. Exactly. Like, you can now. I don't think.
And
Tolkien
this may have been a commentary.
Peter Jackson or whoever was like intentionally doing anything, but we can have hours of conversation about how like Western European style fantasy is like D&D or Lord of the Rings is like, that's kind of fucked up in like some coded way.
Lord of the Rings was written by a racist, so there's that.
Yeah,
right. So there's
maybe some credence to thinking that Dan Harmon and his writing team may have thought about that in this instance, right? Like, it's no mystery that fantasy races are tied to real life allegory and parallel. So maybe this was not blackface, but intended to point out that, like, there is a stereotypical nature normally applied to these things. Either way, I and several dozen black people I know absolutely love this show, and this episode is up there with one of our favorites. And the fact that it was cut because of something in the first 3 minutes.
Mm-hmm. You could cut out or put the disclaimer on there, like we talked about the Looney Tunes disclaimer, or like when Gone with the Wind is up on HBO Max, they're gonna have like a discussion at the front of like, this is a movie from 1939. These stereotypes were terrible then, they're terrible now, but like, you cannot. To remove its existence only seeks to cover your own ass. You're not saving anyone. You're not helping anyone but yourself. You're just alleviating your own blame.
For us to kind of say that, look, we can't possibly get rid of the classics because of their because despite they had these racial stereotypes, it's representative of the time that they were from, and then for us to not acknowledge that, like, that time didn't fucking go away. Like, these shows were made, these current ones that are dealing with blackface, like, for us to be like, oh, we should just get rid of them, it's in direct contradiction to what they're saying with the original ones. It's like, if you are saying that, like, oh, that's not who we are anymore, it's like, no, you were, period. Like, you did it at that point in time. This was the culture at that time. And for you to somehow say, oh, this time we were too woke, we should have known better. You didn't, because the culture was still there at that time. Yeah, don't 100%. Act like you should have known better. Like, talk about current day racism, because it's still here. Also,
if you find folks will indulge me a moment to perhaps move into a metaphor that you don't quite care or understand. In sports, specifically in baseball, there's a whole fucking era where records were broken by players who were using performance-enhancing drugs. And there's a large argument right now about whether or not they should be in the Hall of Fame, because that was about 20 years ago, and 20 years is about the line where people start doing Hall of Fame voting. And, like, I personally believe that, yes, Mark McGwire and Sammy Sosa and Barry Bonds all deserve to be in the Hall of Fame.
Let the Bash Brothers into the Hall of Fame.
Yeah, exactly. Let them into the Hall of Fame, but throw that asterisk next to them that says they're here, but they also use performance-enhancing drugs. And I think the same principle can be applied to many of these instances where, instead of just yoink, it's not a part of the history anymore, you go, okay, this is a thing like Looney Tunes did, and it's not good, and we condemn it, but for education, I mean, like, I just don't understand the knee-jerk, let's get rid of it, as opposed to, because, like, the first thing I thought of is there's an episode of The Office in, like, season 6.
I think that episode has also been pulled. If
and if that episode's pulled because of a literal 1-second thing, that's stupid.
I am seeing that The Office has cut that scene. That is what.
It's literally a cutaway. There's no one else that interacts with it, so it would be easy to remove. But also, I think that scene's important because what you're seeing is a character realizing that, like, an old, dated representation of a Christmas holiday that included a kid in blackface is no longer okay, because he does call and go, nope, 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 and you see the guy open his phone and then walk away. Like, yeah, it's like, yo, he showed up in blackface, but it's like, yo, it's Dwight. It's Dwight's weird friend. They live out in the country, and they're hilariously disconnected from reality, which we've argued in both cases. And I don't know if we've argued much in The Office's case, but I've definitely argued in both cases that most of the time these shows survive the test of time because they address their problematic behavior when they do it as a part of them doing it, right? When Pierce, I mixed Pierce and Chevy Chase. I just said Chase. Okay, anyway. When Pierce says wrong shit, everyone goes, that shit's wrong. Right? when Michael Scott says wrong shit, everyone's like, that shit's wrong. No one reacts to it and is like, yeah, and then they have to come back later with a Jeff Winger speech like, this was actually wrong. So there's no way you could take anything from those instances other than yikes, right? So
yeah. I mean, yes, yeah. I agree with that. I also, like I've said, I also have a very specific perspective on this, insofar as the idea of lampshading. You know, you're still, in a certain sense, saying that these are things that are laughable, and even though you're pointing out that they're wrong, you're still implying that, yeah, they're wrong, but we can laugh about it, you know? Mm-hmm. So it is a little bit complicated, but I do think what you said about shocking coming from the queer, but what you said about the sports metaphor was actually really apropos, because, like, when it comes to seriously, when it comes to accountability versus, you know, there's a lot of discussions going on with cancel culture right now, and quite frankly, I think people are really quick to disavow cancel culture, when cancel culture is more reflective of an accountability culture that we're starting to learn about. It's not being handled perfectly. We're at the beginning of this journey, so to speak. We're not, but, like, you know, on a wider scale, it's finally reaching this kind of platform. But I think with accountability, like, first of all, if someone performs a hate crime, yes, fucking remove their position of power, remove their platform. So, you know, they don't deserve these things. Like, yes, certain people should be canceled. When it comes to accountability, and this goes for a lot of things, beyond, you know, whether it's racial stuff, whether it's, you know, assault stuff, you know, all over the spectrum. When it comes down to accountability doesn't just mean like, oh, that's it. Like, if a person does something wrong, it's not just get rid of them. Then they go off and fester in a corner themselves, and they garner resentment for everybody in the world for not respecting them. Which, quite frankly, like, fuck them, they don't really deserve our respect. But still, instead, accountability also. There's also the healing aspect of it. It's reminding me of, since we're talking about, you know, this is all relevant. There's the quote, I want to say it was Malcolm X. It might not have been. I might just be racist. Plot twist, I'm white, so I am. Like, the idea that it's, you know, you put a knife in the back. You know, black people in America, white people put a knife in the back of black people. And you pull it out an inch, and you call that progress. You call it out 2 inches, you call that progress. It's not progress until not only has it been removed, canceled, but also we tend to the wounds. So these people then need to be put into, like, if someone's fired, right, from their job, not only should they be fired, but that person, maybe their severance package should also be like, hey, instead of giving you this much money as your severance, we're taking this amount of the money that you would have gotten, and we're putting it into a rehabilitation or a therapy type situation for you to be able to learn from your mistakes and garner. We don't want you representing us anymore, but since you did profit from us, we are going to make sure that our role, we are accountable. We must be accountable. We were complicit in boosting the platform.
And I think beyond that, like, I think beyond just dealing with it differently, it needs to be more than just dealing with it, right? Because, like, what we see in a lot of these cases is it's like the nature or nurture question, right? Like, is it the person that was bad, or the vacuous support or vacuous, like, protective system that surrounds the employees that work under this person? And so, like, just as much as you need to remove the bad actor, you need to make it impossible for that bad action to come back. And I know perfection is not a thing. It literally does not exist. But, like, cool, Ubisoft let go of a couple people this week that were offenders. But I need to know, and I need to see, and I need to hear from people I know that work at Ubisoft that they've seen, like, logistical changes in how the system of protection for employees from that same kind of abuse happens. And this conversation has gotten wildly unrelated to community, but if that is not indicative of us anyway.
Right.
No, but I don't think that that's wrong of us to kind of expand.
No, not at all. Not at all. I was merely pointing out a show
like Community that explicitly, oh God, Someone put empty egg cells back in the egg carton. Sorry, I'm making some weird breakfast dinner, and I haven't explained it yet. I just went to grab an egg for these crepes, and there's empty eggshells in the carton. Anyway, what I was saying, Community does this thing where it really talks about a lot of people's perspectives. At the same time, the whole concept of the show is all these people from different walks of life come in and they are sharing space together, and they clash and they grow and they learn together and all these things. That's the spirit of the show. It's got its problems. Dan Harmon's got his history. Let's not ignore that. But when it comes down to it, when we discuss these ideas, that's really at the core of why the show worked. It's the ability for us to go, let's sit down at a table and talk it out.
Yeah.
Absolutely. And this is all, this moment happened in the middle of 5 rapid fire similar moments, and then it's all part of this larger cultural spectrum. So it was only natural that we would branch out into all of these different sorts of topics as well. So I think we're going to call it there on this little update mini-sode. And I'm sure we will circle back around to this topic. I mean, if for no other reason, this episode is coming up in a few weeks, this is coming up in the season 2 watch. So anyway, good night, listeners. See you tomorrow.
Yeah.
This has been a Talkback Podcast.
That was quite a show.